Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? Uh, do you hear me well? I hope yes, huh? All right. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you are refreshed and ready for the new semester and the new year. And I hope to see you very soon on campus as well, because we have 2 weeks of virtual learning this week and next week, right? But Ho Chi Minh City has a new announcement about the new on-campus learning for K-12 students from next week. But I guess that policy is not applicable to university students because many of you have to arrange your flight back or train ride back to Ho Chi Minh City. So it may take a while. So I'm going to see you in person in about 2 weeks. I think so. All right. How was your New Year celebration? It was it great, everybody? Did you have a good time with your family and friends? All right, that's great. Oh, awesome. Yeah, I myself, spent a few days with my family, but I didn't dare to visit anybody in my neighborhood because we come back from Ho Chi Minh City and we didn't know about our health status at all, and that's why I just limited myself within my parents' home pretty much all the time. Okay, so because we haven't seen for a long time, for 2 years, for 2 years, and this is the second class of the semester, and it is a very late class in the morning, right? It is a very weird time, but I hope that you have got something to eat before you come to the class this morning, and because the class ends at 15 past noon, which is quite late in the day for lunch, I guess. So if you have any problem listening to me, please just let me know, okay? I assume that most of you've got the microphone so that I can invite you to share your ideas in the class this morning. Um, so, um, so in the first class, I share with you something about research, and I believe that you may have got access to the textbook from the internet. I believe so, right? So if you have not done so, please download the textbook from the internet. I also uploaded the slides for session one onto Blackboard. You can check it out for more information if for some reason you missed the first class before the Vietnamese New Year. Everything is ready, on Blackboard. Everything is on a Blackboard. So you can easily follow or double check the lecture every week from the lecture notes, from the lecture slides on Blackboard. I don't share the lecture notes because you can easily take notes on the lecture slides, and which is more convenient for yourself and for myself as well. Okay, I assume that you see the interface, the computer screen right now, and you can also download the slides for the lecture this morning and have a look at the same time if you want to. I give you a few minutes to do so now. Please download the slides from Blackboard and have one copy on your computer as well. All right. Because this is a virtual class, so I don't check your attendance. Because I understand that sometimes you live far away from the city and the connection is not very good. So that's why I try to encourage you to participate, but I don't check your attendance this week and next week. Um, um, you don't see the slides? Okay. So let me double check it. All right. Give me a second. Okay, so maybe some technical problem. Let me double check the Blackboard, okay? Um, please go to session 2. Session 2. Oh, that's why. Yeah, that's why. So it's the wrong one. Okay, it's because I uploaded to the wrong one. So sorry, I will do it again right now. Okay. Everybody, please mute yourself, okay? Because there's a lot of background noise. Okay, give me a second. I will correct my mistake by uploading everything to session 2. Scientific writing. Okay, here we are. Oh my gosh, everything was wrong. Exactly. Yeah, that's correct. You are right. Okay. So give me 3 minutes, folks. I will upload everything right now. There we go. Uploading.
nhiều không? Cài nhiều với cái phần mềm không?
Okay, so I think everything has been uploaded to Blackboard, folks. Yeah, okay, so I will upload session 1 slides now as well, okay, to the session 1. What is research? Okay, so let's begin, folks. Okay, so last week we learned about research. What is research, right? So basically, we said I provided a lot of examples and explanation about research to help you to understand what research is. And that is a very big definition for sure, because research means everything, right? From very simple research, daily research, or academic research. But basically, a very important definition of research means the efforts to solve real life problems or questions in valid, systematic, and rigorous manners, right? And I gave you a lot of examples from something very simple, like what smartphone is the best for your son. You've got a son who is turning 14, and you decided to buy a phone for him, but you don't know what phone to buy for him. It is a research problem, right? It is a daily simple research problem. Or several years back, when you finish high school, at the age of 18, you wonder what kind of job is the best for yourself. It is a kind of research question as well. It is daily life research. Or in my area of study, we learn about language acquisition, and we usually ask some question like how to improve the oral fluency in 5-year-olds, because some 5-year-olds cannot speak very well in the mother tongue, and we wonder how to improve their oral fluency in their mother tongue. For example, it is a very professional and academic research problem. Or, I said again and again last week about the very big issue that is COVID-19, how to cure COVID-19, which is a real urgent medical research question. Or, you've heard about, for example, some children in Vietnam and elsewhere in the world, they are homeschooled by their parents. And you wonder, what kind of experiences those children have at home when they're homeschooled by their children. They don't go to school like other children at all, something like that. So in summary, research usually refers to efforts to solve problems or questions in a valid, systematic, and rigorous manners. Yes, of course. Yep. Yeah, that's true. Dung Đan, that's a very good comment. Yeah, that's true. And research. So to understand what research means is a very, very important starting point, because what you learn about is research writing. or scientific writing. Scientific writing means research writing. Because of course we focus on more writing part, but you have to understand research to begin with as well. And last week, actually, I mentioned several examples of research. For example, I mentioned the 75-year study on happiness at Harvard University, which is the best known study right now. Or just several days ago, I watched television and I saw a very interesting study in California. They learned about how people above 19 years old live their life and how they are aging, how 90 years old people aging, in their life. They call it 90 plus research study, 90 plus research study. Or, of course, we learn about COVID-19 vaccine, or we learn about, transgender people. I mentioned one very famous documentary, Chuyến đi cuối cùng của chị Phụng, right, last week in class. And I also talk about a research study by Professor Ngô Bảo Châu as well. They are all examples of research. So research could be theoretical, could be empirical, could be qualitative, could be quantitative, many kinds of research in the words. Um, and um, and that's it for the review. You will understand more in the future when you do your thesis. But basically, research means efforts to solve problems in a systematic, valid, and um, rigorous manners. That is a very standard definition of research that you can find in many textbooks. And from my personal experience, that is correct as well. Valid, systematic, and rigorous manners. It is academic research. This week, we have two issues to focus on. The first one, we'll talk about hello students, so because I'm using the free Zoom account, so it may lag out in about 10 minutes or so. It's a very good quality, but that's the problem. Okay, so if it is out, please log in again, and we'll continue the session this morning. It's no big deal at all. So we have two sessions this morning. The first one is structure of research paper, and the second one is sorry, academic language in research writing. Two very big issues. Okay, two very big issues. Structure of research paper. Okay, now to begin with, folks, I'd like you to go to Blackboard. And on the Blackboard right now, session 2, I uploaded 3 items. Number 1 is the slides. Number 2 is a sample essay. And number 3 is a sample research paper number 1. Okay, please download the sample essay on the Blackboard. Then you've got 7 minutes to skim the essay and you answer the questions. Is this a good essay? How many paragraphs are there? How many main parts are there? What is the most important sentence in this essay? And what is it called? Okay. Do you see the essay, everybody? Do you see the essay on Blackboard? Great, great. Okay. Check it out and skim it first. Okay. Okay. So what is the essay about? Is it a good essay, folks? Is it a good one? Cẩm Nhung, what do you say? Cẩm Nhung, is it a good essay?
I think it is a good essay.
Yeah, indeed. It is a very good one because it is from textbook. So it's a very good essay. That's true. What is the title of the essay? Công dân. Thiên Kim.
Yeah, the title of the essay is The Native American Influences on Modern U.S. Culture.
Exactly. Yep. Okay. How many paragraphs are there in this essay? Duy Lâm. Okay, Duy Lâm has no microphone, huh? Okay, six. Okay, six. Okay, that's true. There are 6 paragraphs in this essay. So, if I give you about 5 minutes to read this essay, you may finish everything from beginning to the end. But if I just give you maybe 30 seconds, you have to focus on something most important in this essay. So tell me, so we've got 6 paragraphs, right? So one introduction section, one introduction paragraph, 4 body paragraphs, and 1 conclusion paragraph, right? Okay, so what is the most important sentence in this essay? What can? Sorry, what can?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
No, I don't hear you very well. Very soft. Can you speak louder?
Is it okay now?
Okay, that's okay, Ken, because there's some technical problem, I guess. That's true. Yeah, Hiếu and Thông give 2 very good answers. That is the thesis statement. Yep. The thesis statement is the most important for sure. Okay, so who can read aloud the thesis statement for me, please, from this essay? Hugh, can you read aloud the thesis statement?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you
The
very well.
thesis statement is Native Americans have made many valuable contributions to modern U.S. culture, particularly in the areas of language, art, food, and government.
Yes, very good. Yep, indeed. Yep. So the thesis statement is that as a result, Native Americans have made many valuable contributions to modern U.S. culture, particularly in the areas of language, art, food, and government. Exactly. So, a thesis statement is usually located at the very end of the introduction, right? And you see that, in this thesis statement, you see 4 controlling ideas, including language, art, food, and government. And each body paragraph, you see, each body paragraph addresses one controlling idea. The first one, for example, you see, first of all, Native Americans left a permanent mark on the English language. So the whole first body paragraph deals with the first idea, which is language. And that is the way it is, right? So that is a basic thing you have learned a long time ago. It is nothing new at all. It is something you know already because you write a lot of essays in your life so far. Okay. Um, so we've got one introduction paragraph, four body paragraphs corresponding to four controlling ideas in the thesis statement, and one conclusion paragraph, which is a paraphrase of the introduction again. So this is the standard essay anywhere in the world. It should be this way. Otherwise, it's very hard to understand what you write about. So thesis statement and topic sentences are very, very important. A topic sentence means the first sentence in a body paragraph, right? And the thesis statement is the brain of the entire human body. It's the most important one in the entire essay. If you got 5 minutes, you can read everything from beginning to the end. But if you have 30 seconds, you just focus on the thesis statement because everything is there. Okay, so Zoom is about to go out in about 30 seconds. So please log in again, okay? Okay, so we've just gone through the structure of an essay, right? Which is something very familiar to you guys. Now let's move on to the second part, that is structure of a research paper. Okay, I'd like you to go to Blackboard and download the sample research paper number 1 and have it in front of you, running on empty. You got the research paper? Yeah, please give me. It takes a while. Yeah, take your time, please. Please take your time and skim the research paper. This is a very important step for you to understand the structure of the paper. Okay. I believe that you're reading the article, right? You don't have to spend a lot of time because you don't have to understand everything just yet. You just skim the paper so that you understand the structure of the paper first. Now you see that, what is the title of the paper, folks? Who could read aloud the title of the paper? Angle, please.
Yes. Okay, the title is The Effects of Food Deprivation on Concentration and Perseverance. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the title.
Actually, the title is Running on Empty, the effects of food deprivation and on concentration and perseverance. Okay. This paper is by two people, Thomas Delacy and Adam Soberg from Dork College. Is it clear? Okay, so from the title, so what area of study do you think it is? Tu Dung, what do you say?
So you mean the area is that you talk about the
Discipline.
like the biology?
Discipline. Yep,
Discipline.
yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's about the biologies and some because biopsychology. Oh, yes. So food deprivation is about the thing that physical we affect this, and the concentration and the perseverance is what we study what effect on them if the food deprivation. I think.
Okay, yeah, of course, it is about human health sciences. It's about health sciences, right, in general. Okay, so so how many parts are there in this research paper, folks? Phi Long?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
How many sections are there in this paper? Do you hear me well, Phi Long? How many sections, how many parts are there in this paper?
Yes. I'm counting the section.
Okay.
The section including the conclusion, results,
Everything, yes. Yeah, okay. So, oh, that's okay. That's all right. So let's go through together now first, folks. Okay. I'm going to go slowly now because I want you to pay attention, folks, because this is a very basic part. If you don't understand this one, you can miss a lot of things in the future. If you don't understand the structure of the paper and why we have that kind of structure, it's very hard to know how to write them in the future. Because after the class this morning, you will learn part by part. You learn how to write part by part in the research paper. So for the class this morning, I want you to understand the structure of the research paper and why each part is necessary, or the function of each part in the research paper, and how is it different from the essay structure, right? So you see that on the very first page, you see the title, right? Running on Empty, Effects of Food Deprivation on Concentration and the Perseverance, by two students from Dork College. And the first part of the class that you see right away on page number 2 is the abstract. Abstract is actually a kind of summary. Abstract is a summary, but somehow in research methodology, they call it abstract. Abstract is a summary. So an abstract is a kind of like mini version of the research paper. Right, the first one is the abstract. So abstract is the first part in the research paper, but it is the last to be written, because abstract is a summary. So you cannot summarize a text until you have completed the text, right? So you have to write a research paper to the very end, and then you write the abstract finally, right? Abstract is the summary of a research paper. It is a mini version, or I say it is a miniature of the research paper. So if you want to understand everything about the paper, you just read the abstract, all right? So 30 minutes ago, when you learn about essay writing, I said that thesis statement is the brain or the most important part of the essay. In a similar manner, the abstract is the brain. It is the most important part of the research paper. If you don't have a lot of time, you don't have to read everything in the paper. You just look at the abstract and you understand what it means right away. So abstract. So why abstract? I explain later. Okay, why abstract? I explain later. But let's keep moving now. When you scroll down, so the abstract is about one paragraph, right? Just one paragraph or 10 rows. Then you see from, many things. So this part, is a kind of introduction section. Introduction. The heading is not always there. The heading is absent. The heading is hidden, but it is actually the introduction section. Introduction section, so keep scrolling down. You see a lot of things in it, right? So many things interrupt, so on and so forth. And you see a lot of citation over here, right? Pinel 2000, Keys project, Hensjoe, Michelson, Taylor, 1950, so on and so forth. A lot of in-text citation. Let me put it on the chat box. Okay, we call it in-text citation. Right. It's all in the introduction section. And then we move on to, on and on and on. And then you see methods section. Methods. Right? So abstract, introduction, methods. In methods, they talk about, participants, about materials, about procedure. When you keep scrolling down, you see the next one, that is results. Results. And in the results section, you see a lot of numbers and chart and table. Right. And finally, you come to discussion. Discussion. Here we are, discussion. And the last one is references. Okay. So in summary, folks, a standard research paper includes 6 parts. 6 parts. Abstract, abstract, introduction, methods, results, discussion / conclusion, and references. It is a universally accepted structure of any research paper. When you write your thesis, follow the structure. When you write your publication, follow the structure all the time. So discussion / conclusion, because sometimes they have discussion and then conclusion, or sometimes they combine them into one section. They're similar, So discussion / conclusion. Okay, now I help you to go through one by one, so you understand what does it look like, and why is it there, for example. Okay, let's move on to abstract first. Abstract. So abstract is basically a summary of the entire research paper. If a research paper has 6 parts, you have 6 mini parts in the abstract as well. An abstract, because it's a summary, it is usually the last to be written. But why an abstract then? You know, when you write your thesis, you have to read a lot of articles, right? You may go to Google Scholar or any database in the library. You see a lot of articles related to your area of study. But of course, you cannot have time to read everything from the beginning to the end. You have to screen them first. So that's when you read the abstract. So if the abstract looks nice, looks relevant, you keep reading the entire body of the article. But if it is too irrelevant, it is poorly written, something like that, you just ignore it and keep moving. That's the role of the abstract. Abstract is the gatekeeper to your reading. And an abstract usually contains a main text and possibly some keywords as well. In the example, you see only the main text, but in some other cases, you see some keywords below the main text too. Now look. So I took this sample from the University of Toronto Press Journals. And you see that the title here is the Oral Fluency, the Neglected Component in the Communicative Language Classroom. And you see the author's names over here and the abstract. Right. So because Canada is a bilingual country, so we have abstract in 2 languages, right? English and French. And below is some keywords. Fluency, English is the second language, speaking, instruction. If I feel like this abstract, this study is relevant to what I'm looking for, I will buy or download this article. If not, I just keep moving. You understand what I mean, folks? That's the role and the function of an abstract. It helps you a lot when you read and screen materials for your research study. Okay, so the first one is abstract, right? The second one is introduction. Introduction is very hard to write. So in the class last week, I told you that your final project is an introduction, only introduction. So introduction section may go by several different labels. It could be introduction, it could be background, it could be literature review, something like that. Or sometimes no label at all. Like in the sample, you don't see any label at all. You don't see any heading at all. But it is actually the introduction section. So typically, the introduction section is anything above the method section. Anything above the method section is called introduction, right? Anything above the method section is called introduction. And okay, most importantly, introduction includes number 1, background information. Okay, so when you write about, for example, COVID-19, what is some background information about COVID-19? Okay, something general about the issues of COVID-19 in the world, for example. Okay, so and then the second part is lit review. The third part is research gap. And the final one is a brief description of the current study. Okay, I have to explain very carefully now, right? I want you to understand everything very well right at the beginning, so that in the remaining weeks, you just focus on writing and language only, okay? Now, I'd like to invite you to get back to the sample, okay? Go to the sample introduction section first. So this includes background information, lit review, research gap, and a brief description of the current study that you're doing and writing about. Okay, let's go back to the sample text. Here we go. Okay, now look for the first paragraph. Many things interrupt people's ability to focus on a task. Distractions, headaches, noisy environments, and even psychological disorders. Blah, blah, blah. This is the background information. Right. And then you see from here to here, you see a lot of lit review, right? Lit review. Lit review again, right? Lit review again. And lit review again. A lot of things about lit review. And here you see information about the current study. And above, just before the current study, you see the research gap. Here it is, research gap. Okay, so let's get back to the slide, okay? Get back to the slide now. Okay, so background information is understandable, right? Of course, you have to introduce something. You have to lead into it, right? It is obvious. What about literature review? So why do you need to write literature review in a research paper? Why do you have to use a lot of in-text citation? And why research gap? Okay, let me explain the logic now, okay? So now, let's think about the topic of COVID-19. Medical scientists in the world are trying to find out the medicine for COVID-19. COVID-19 is a serious problem. And we've had a vaccine now, right? We've had a vaccine for COVID-19. But we don't have the medicine for COVID-19 just yet. So, as a medical scientist, you decided to test a new medicine for COVID-19. But before you do that, you have to understand what is going on within your medical community in the world. What about medical scientists in America? What about medical scientists in Russia, in China, in Japan, everywhere in the world? What medicine have they been researching on? Have they found any new medicine just yet? Maybe a Japanese professor have found some medicine that does not work very well, but something is there. Or maybe some professors in America found something that doesn't work very well. So your job as a medical scientist, you understand the field and you show your understanding of your field to the readers. To say that, yes, exactly. Yeah, it shows the relationship between the previous work and your work. And it helps you to explain why your work is necessary. You can say, okay, Professor A from Japan, have been learning about some new medicine for COVID-19, but it doesn't work very well. Or it works very well, but it is for Japanese people only. It's not tested in Vietnam. Or you can say, several scientists in Russia have tested a new medicine for COVID-19, but they're not successful. Something like that. Okay. And after you review everything, you will say that, okay, many things have been done about medicine for COVID-19, but no perfect medicine has been found out. That's why my job is necessary. It's why I do this study. That is the research gap. So you cannot conduct a study unless there is a research gap, right? So your job is to point out there is a gap there in human knowledge base and that you need to do your study because it is necessary. It is the way you justify your study. Your study is necessary because people have done something about it, but it's not successful just yet. And that's why you jump in and fill in the gap in the human knowledge base. And that's the structure, the logic of the introduction. You see what I mean? Okay, I explain more later when you learn how to write section by section, in the class. But for now, you understand that introduction section is a very important section. It is very hard to write because it is quite complicated, right? You see the most difficult section to write. So the structure, we've got background information, lit review, research gap, and a brief description of your current study in terms of research questions, research objectives, research hypotheses, and something about research methods as well. Is it clear so far, class? This is a very important slide. Do you have any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What is the main difference between background and literature review? Because I think they kind of overlap.
Okay, that's a very good question. Background here means some lead-in sentences. Some lead-in sentences, that's all. So in literature review, you cite people. In background, you don't cite people. It's just your own language. You see what I mean? You say something, you say, oh, COVID is a very serious problem in the world nowadays. COVID claim 2.5 million people, so on and so forth. But you don't cite anybody just yet. Is it clear, Kathleen?
Yes, thank you. I see now.
Sure. Of course, because we're learning theory now, so that's why I try to differentiate the sections very clearly. But in reality, they could overlap a little bit, folks. So don't take it too mechanically, okay? Just in terms of theory, they're different. But in reality, you may cite anywhere actually. But when you write more, you understand that what I mean. But in theory now, you should see distinction among different parts in one section like this: background, review, research gap, and description of the study. Okay, let's move on, class. So abstract introduction, okay? Methods. It's about your research design, right? Is it qualitative? Is it quantitative? Is it experimental? Is it non-experimental? Is it quasi-experimental? You know, you have to understand a lot about methods. So you learn about methods in a separate course called research methodology. Do you have that course in your program, folks? Research methodology or research methods. Do you have that course in your program? Anybody knows the answers? No? Okay. So you will learn from that from your supervisor then. Okay. I will explain briefly about research methodology, you know, but not everything because it is one course. So for example, you plan to travel. You get from here to Hanoi, for example, from Ho Chi Minh City to Hanoi. So your goal is to arrive in Hanoi. But how to get there? By plane, by bus, by boat, by train, different ways. So the ways are the methods. It's called methods here. In the same way, you know, you want to test a new medicine, and that's your destination, right? The new, your desire to test a new medicine is your destination, and to do that, you have many ways to do that, and you have to choose the best way. That is the methods. So the methods could be, you know, it's about research design. You know, it could be experimental, it could be an interview, it could be a questionnaire, it could be a survey, it could be a test in the lab, whatever it is, right? Research design. And usually you have to think about participants as well. Yeah, I'm not sure to you about quality management. I think it could be one. Yeah, it doesn't sound like one, you know, because usually a research method they usually call research methods or research methodology course, something like that. But anyhow, you learn that from your supervisor. Don't worry about that. You know, yeah, you fine. No problem at all. Our class focuses more on the language, not the research methodology. Okay, the language. So we'll talk about research design, right? We'll talk about participants. Who are the participants? You test the new medicine on whom? How many people? How do you select the people who participate in your study? And something like that. And how do you collect the data? I mean, do you have a survey? Do you have a questionnaire? Do you have interview? Or do you have any lab? Something like that. And how do you analyze data? Right. It is all about methods section. So we'll learn about how to write the section as well in terms of language. Results. Results. You know, they can say results or findings, something like that. You know, results or findings. Same. So usually, you know, you have to show a lot of visuals, a table or chart, so on and so forth, you know, and you analyze them. Discussion, conclusion, you know, so in the discussion or conclusion, they usually separate or combine, it depends, right? And in which you connect your findings to the research questions you raise at the beginning and other studies. You may say, okay, my findings of the experiment prove that, you know, References. Why references then? Because so when you cite somebody in your text, in text citation, in the lit review, you have to show the source of that information. So that as a reader, when I see that citation and I want to read further, I can look for that source easily, right? So the references help the readers a lot, So when you read something, you learn a lot from the references list. And and let me show you again the references. Okay, and I share with you two very important resources for references. The first one is that there's a very interesting website from Purdue University that everybody in the world use right now. Purdue Online Writing Lab. But I'll talk about that later. Okay, don't care about it right now. But I want you to look at Google Scholar first. Now I want you to go to Google Scholar, folks. Google Scholar, please, on your computer. Okay, go to Google Scholar. Okay, Google Scholar. And search anything you want to, for example, this one, okay? Okay, just follow me on the screen, okay? Follow me on the screen. So I go to Google Scholar and I search something. And I have a long list of many articles on the interface, right? Look at the first one, please. Potential of text-based internet, something like that. And then you see here, there's a star and you see quotation marks. You click on quotation marks and a table shows up. And you see cite, then MLA, APA, Chicago, Harvard, Vancouver. So they are all the names of different schools of scholarship in the world. We call trường phái in Vietnamese. So it depends on your area of study that your supervisor says, you use MLA or you use APA style or Chicago style. I don't know about your area of study, but in my area of study, I usually use APA style. APA stands for American Psychological Association, or social sciences use APA, for example. But your supervisor says, you use Harvard or you use Vancouver. It is all here. So you just click on it, copy and paste, and you have a reference list easily. Let me say again, okay? You go to Google Scholar, right? And you go to the article you choose, click quotation marks, and you see it, right? Okay, let's get back to the slide now. I want you to do one exercise now. I want each of you to go to Google Scholar and select one article, copy and paste that reference to chat box right now. Very good job, Mihan. Yes, very good job. Yep. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, good. Let's move on now. Very good. Okay, so so the question now is, what are the differences between an essay and a research paper in terms of structure and in terms of content? Anh Khoa, please. Anh Khoa, no. Minh Quân. Hello, Minh Quân, are you there? Mai Thanh, please. Mai Thanh, are you there? Hồng Nhi, are you there? Hello. Quỳnh Như. What's going on, folks? Anybody? Tấn Huy. Okay, Hiếu. So Hiếu Ngô, can you say something, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think that essay only has introduction, body, and conclusion.
Yes.
However, in a research paper, they will have 6 sections: abstract,
Yeah.
introduction, method, result, discussion, and references.
Yeah, that's good. And what about content? Differences in content? Hiếu?
The content, I think the research paper is more academic.
More academic?
Yeah, and the research paper also includes some evidence such as graphs and experiments.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, and essay usually include personal opinion, right? Usually personal opinion and maybe secondary data. But research paper usually include data, usually primary data, because you collect data, right? You collect data and you've got a primary data. Primary data is the data you collect yourself, and secondary data is the data you cite from other people. You see what I mean? So an essay usually use your personal opinion, personal experiences, personal opinion, and maybe secondary data. Meanwhile, a research paper, usually you have to use the primary data. That's the big difference between the two. Okay, so in terms of structure, an essay usually include introduction, body, conclusion, very short, and a research paper is longer. And in terms of content, a research paper usually contain both secondary data and primary data. Meanwhile, an essay usually include personal opinion for the most part. Okay, very good. That's it for structure of a research paper. And from next week, we learn how to write section by section in terms of language. Okay, it's complicated. Yeah, but you have to understand the overall structure first. And you did a very good job this morning. Now we have one more section to cover before we call it a day this morning. That is academic language rules. Okay. So you know that when you write an email, it is different from when you write an essay or a research paper, right? Or when you text your friend, it is different from when you write a letter to your professor, for sure. And so, in academic writing or scientific writing, we usually have to follow the following rules, general rules. Number one, you must make sure that you use very standard sentences, very standard sentences. You learn about English sentences for many years in high school, in college, in intensive English classes, a lot. But some of you may forget about those things. So the first condition is you have to write very standard sentences. Standard means very correct sentences. And number two, you use very accurate and concise vocabulary. Accurate and concise vocabulary. Okay, I explain more later, okay? Number three, we prefer nominal groups over verbs. Nominal tức là danh từ, cụm danh từ, okay? Over verbs. Number four, we use passive voice over active voice. Number five, avoid personal pronouns like I or we. Number six, avoid short forms and abbreviations. And number seven, we use hedging words or phrases. Okay, Thu Dung, we'll talk about that later, Thu Dung. Yeah, it's a long story, I think. Let me finish this part first. And in the course, I'll give you some more advice along the way, okay? Try to understand the main points about academic writing first. All right. So the first one, the first rule, standard sentences. Okay, let me present. Okay, because of time limit, so let me present quickly, and you do practice exercises later on. Okay, so in academic writing, we've got four kind of sentences: simple, compound, complex, compound, complex. So, but I talk about these terms because they're here, but you don't have to memorize them at all, right? So simple, like my brother is Vietnamese, it is simple sentence. My brother is Vietnamese, but he prefers Japanese culture. So, but two classes is a compound. Complex. Although he's Vietnamese, my brother prefers Japanese culture. It's similar to compound, but it's a little bit different, right? The last one, although he's Vietnamese, my brother prefers Japanese culture and he's working for a Japanese corporation, right? It's a long one, right? So the first one, a simple sentences, one clause. Compound, two clauses. Complex, two clauses. And compound complex, three clauses. This is a long one. Okay, let me finish myself first, okay? Okay, so when you write English sentences, try to avoid common errors. The first error is sentence fragments. Sentence fragments tức là chưa có thành câu mà đã chấm rồi. For example, because globalization is expanding to all parts of the world, full stop. It is wrong. Okay, the second error is run-on sentences. Globalization is expanding to all parts of the world. Vietnam has responded to it in a timely manner. It is incorrect because you need run-on, tức là luôn tuồng. Mình cần cái từ nối. Mình dùng ví dụ so Vietnam hoặc therefore Vietnam thì đúng. Mà dùng như vậy là sai. It's a run-on error. Okay. Okay, now I want each of you to write a sentence with more than two two or more than two clauses, more than one clause, okay? And share it in the chat box right now, in the chat box. Only one sentence. More than one clause. Chat box. This is a long story. Em nào đang ấy, anh Mưa giùm thầy cái nè. Come on. Okay. Anyone else? Come on. Phương Ngọc, it is a simple sentence, Phương Ngọc. Write something more complex, please. Again, more than one clause. A long sentence. A long sentence. Yeah, Phi Long, I'm hungry. I'm hungry too. Yet I'm going to let you leave very soon, okay? Okay, yeah, that's correct, Quang Minh, because my bánh chưng was too cold. I hid it in microwave. Yeah, writing is hard, but Mr. Cường will help us. Oh, I hope so. I'm writing a sentence which is containing more than two clauses, and I think it is enough. Okay. So you have three classes there, right? Đình Khánh. You should think about money saving from now if you want to study in IU. Okay, that's correct. Because you have to pay a lot of money to IU, right? So that we can have more koi fish at IU. Any more sentences? Whenever prices goes up, customers buy less products. Yeah, that's correct. I want to borrow some money. I want to blow some money, but not mine. Blow some money? What does it mean, Ken? Anyone else? Come on, please keep sharing. I'm open to hearing whatever this company believe is fair for this position, which I believe should be more than 10 million per month. Well, it is a perfect one. It is a very, very standard sentence, Mihan. My parents make their children work too hard, which may lead to some counter effects. Okay, yeah, that's correct. Very standard, Miley. Any more sentences? Okay, it looks like you've done a good job, folks. It's raining cats and dogs, so my mother tells me to bring an umbrella. Okay, everybody, please look at Cẩm Nhung sentence. It's raining cats and dogs, so my mother tells me to bring an umbrella. Is that correct? Yeah, it is correct, but it's not standard because you need a comma before so. Okay, that's minor one. Okay, so I'll share with you some more materials next week then. Okay, so I know what is going on now. Okay, now let's get back to the slides. Very good. Move on. Okay, use accurate and concise vocabulary. Concise means short but informative. Chính xác và gọn. For example, globalization is bad for many countries in the world. Bad. What do you mean by bad? Bad is a very unclear word, but it's not accurate. So globalization is doing harm to, it is much better, right? Doing harm to is much more accurate than bad. Or he's a terrible ruler because he remains in power for decades. What do you mean? He's a dictator, that's all. Dictator is much shorter and more concise than a terrible ruler, that because he's a, okay, so dictator is a very concise word. Now, nominal groups over verbs. Nominal groups means noun phrases. For example, you say, they decided to secede from the EU. Okay, it's not good because decide can turn into decision, and you make a decision to secede from the EU. So make a decision is better than deciding. So make a decision is a nominal group. Okay, everybody please write one sentence using a nominal group and in chat box. Chat box, please. Chat box, please. Yeah, very good, To Dung. Yeah, I have the intention of moving to Australia next year, because instead of saying I intend to move, you say I have the intention of doing something. Very good. To Dung, that's a very good one. Mihan, I have a lot of coding to do. Okay. Yep, yeah, okay. To Dung, I have the tendency to, yep, that's correct. Yeah. So the verb intend, you turn into intention, right? The verb tend to turn into tendency. Okay, I think you got a point. Okay, let's move on because of time limit, I think. Okay. Okay, passive voice over active voice. You say, people assume that globalization is doing more harm than good to most nations. Is active voice. It's not very good. So it's better to say, it is assumed that, all right? It is assumed that globalization is doing more harm than good to most countries. Or you say, globalization is assumed to do more harm than good to most countries. So passive voice is better. Avoid personal pronouns. You don't say, in this paper, I conclude that. You don't say I there because it's personal pronoun. Instead, you say, the conclusion of this paper is that. So you hide the pronoun in between. You hide it. You don't see it anymore, right? The conclusion of this paper is that. It's much better. And avoid short forms and abbreviations. You don't say who didn't. You say who did not. Okay, hedging words is very interesting. Hedging words là cái từ rào đón. Cái từ rào đón, ví dụ như là seem hoặc là passively. Ví dụ mình nói là the conclusion is that the new teaching method brings about improved performance in college students. Thì câu này khẳng định rất là lớn, rất là rõ đúng không nào? But sometimes you're not sure. You're not so sure. So you say the conclusion is that the new teaching method seems to bring about improved performance in college students. So we prefer the second way. Seem is a hedging verb. Hedging verb or hedging word is the word that make you sound less certain, less absolute. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's why I told you. Yeah, we avoid absolute words. So we prefer hedging words instead of absolute words. Okay. Okay. Yến Nhi, we tend to use hedging words because you know why? In science, in research, you cannot be sure of anything. For example, you do an experiment and you prove that your medicine may cure COVID-19. But science is complicated, and you're not absolutely sure that that new medicine will cure COVID-19. But you say, yeah, this new medicine is likely to cure that COVID-19. Likely, it is better than this medicine will cure that COVID-19. You see what I mean? So it is a matter of like, you don't want to show that you're very sure about your conclusion, because in reality, nothing is sure. You see what I mean? So when you make a conclusion, try to avoid absolute conclusion, but use hedging words instead. Okay, I think because of time limit, I just ignore this one. It's a very quick one, right? How academic is this text? So you can do it for yourself at home. Okay, just read this one and try to figure out how academic it is. Is it very academic or average or very informal? Okay, read this one at home by yourself and do it. Okay, in summary, class, today we've learned about the structure of a research paper, which includes 6 parts: abstract, introduction, methods, results, discussion, conclusion, and references. And in terms of academic language, I advise you to use standard sentences, accurate and concise vocabulary, nominal groups instead of verbs, if possible, passive voice, if possible, avoid personal pronouns, if possible, avoid short forms and abbreviations all the time, and use hedging words or phrases in your conclusion. Okay, any questions? Okay, so I guess it is your lunch time now. Okay, so let's call it a day now. And again, please look at the slides again at home. And if you have any questions, please drop me a line in the email. Okay. All right, so let's call it a day now. And goodbye. I see you again on Zoom next week. Hugo, that's a very good idea, Hugo. Actually, MS Team is a very good option, but I don't know why my computer is not really working well with MS Teams. And for MS Team, my computer locked out, a lot of time. So that's why I decided to choose Zoom instead, even though I know MS Team is a very good option for many teachers. Goodbye, class. Mihan, Google Meet is a good option too, Mihan. I will consider that, okay, for next week. But for Google Meet, we cannot record. I think we cannot record the lecture very well.